take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it, and it goes down smooth. Hey!
Spanning the continent to bring you the truth about cannabis and marijuana law reform.
I smoke pot and I like it a lot.
CannabisRadio.com presents The Russ Belville Show, the voice of the marijuana nation.
Hey, this is great, man.
Now, here's your host, Radical Russ Belville.
Good day, tokers and tokeheads and non-toking lovers of liberty. It is Monday, February 29th, 2016, and it's got to be 420 somewhere in the world. What a special show we've got for you today. We're coming to you live from Arlington, Texas at Dubious Studios, the home of DFW Normal, and I'm watching the late sun start to set here in Texas. It's actually nice to be able to see some sun, being from Portland. You know how it gets in the wintertime in Portland, all gray and cloudy, and rarely do you see the sun. So this has been a nice change of pace, but it's a special day today, and not just because it's Leap Day that only comes around once every 4 years. It's because we just completed the Southwest Cannabis Conference and Expo at the Fort Worth Convention Center. And what a weird setup in that the day before we went there, Donald Trump was there, or Donald Drumpf, as John Oliver is calling him. And Chris Christie had endorsed him there at that event, at that same exact convention center. We got there and we were greeted by police with canine units who were searching all the vendors and sniffing through all our bags and roaming. You know, there was on-duty cops in the event wandering around as well as undercovers. So it definitely was a Texas event, but it was well represented and had really good turnout for all of the events and all of the speakers that showed up. There was the Gridiron Cannabis Coalition, which featured Marvin Washington, former defensive end for the Jets, the Niners, and the Broncos. Jim McMahon, the quarterback who got famous winning the Super Bowl in '85 with the Bears, and Ricky Williams, one of the first NFL players that people associated with medical marijuana use. They were a part of a panel. Montel Williams, the talk show host and celebrity, he did a wide-ranging discussion on medical marijuana and his multiple sclerosis. We'll get to some of those coming up later on in the week, but today we are focusing on the person who definitely stole the show, and that was 10-year-old Alexis Bortell. Her story has been told many times in Texas of how she suffers from a form of epilepsy that is only helped by medical cannabis, and not just the CBD oil that they allow now in Texas. She actually needs THC in order to become seizure-free, and she has by moving to Colorado. She is now 340, I guess it'd be 349 days seizure-free, 48, something like that, since she has gone and used the cannabis medicine. So she came and gave a inspirational keynote speech. She's an amazing public speaker and spoke to about 2,000 people on the need to end this sort of discrimination against cannabis using patients, that they should be able to travel anywhere, and she'll do everything in her power to make that change. So you'll get to hear the keynote speech in our extended hour today. That'll be in the Radical Rant section. Also, we'll bring you my interview with Alexis Bortell. I got the chance to speak to her one-on-one. It is Monday, so we will get our regular dose of cannabis science live with Dr. Mitch Earlywine. We'll be talking to him in Albany, New York, and we'll get his take on some of the latest studies that are purporting both good and bad to come from marijuana use. We've also got a piece with little Lily Howard, another little girl, 8-year-old girl, who needs medical marijuana, and her parents discussing the odyssey they've gone through with Texas's CBD-only law. We also spoke with 2 different groups advocating for parental rights in the use of medical cannabis. We spoke with Mama, the mothers advocating medical marijuana for autism, and we spoke with Canna Moms. All that's coming up on today's Leap Day episode of The Russ Belville Show, live from Arlington, Texas, right here on CannabisRadio.com.
This is The Russ Belville Show on CannabisRadio.com.
When you are starting up a medical cannabis business, you want a fired-up lawyer who understands the needs of cannabis consumers. The law office of Lauren Vasquez is your fired-up lawyer for the cannabis industry. Visit her website, fireduplawyer.com, or call 1-855-MMJ-LAWS for more information. That's 855-665-5297 for Lauren Vasquez, your fired-up lawyer, or email fireduplawyer@gmail.com.
NORMAL stands for Responsible Adult Cannabis Use. If cannabis use is causing problems in your life, consider taking a break or seeking medical assistance. Consider ceasing cannabis use if you have a family history of mental illness. Don't drive or operate heavy machinery while impaired by cannabis use. Cannabis use is not without risks, even though the risks may be far less than those posed by legal drugs.
From high atop Mount Soledad in San Diego, California, 100 feet above sea level. Good morning. It's good news with cannabis nurse Heather.
This plant is amazing. Positive change is happening. We did it. No matter who you are, you can make a positive impact on the world.
I would rather be illegally alive than legally dead.
And that quote helped to give you strength.
Nurse Heather is only on CannabisRadio.com.
Good morning, cannabis nurse Heather.
It's time for the Cannabis Radio News. Covering the latest headlines in consumer cannabis, medical marijuana, and industrial hemp. Cannabis Radio News is now available exclusively at CannabisRadio.com. Now your marijuana headlines in 4 minutes and 20 seconds. This is Cannabis Radio News.
This is your Cannabis Radio News for Monday, February 29th, 2016. A strong majority of Canadians agree with the Liberal government's plan to legalize marijuana, and half of them feel users should be able to grow their own pot at home, a new Globe and Mail Nanos research poll has found. Justin Trudeau first promised in 2013 to legalize marijuana, a drug that has been prohibited in Canada since 1923. The poll of 1,000 Canadians found that legalizing marijuana is supported or somewhat supported by 68% of the population. British Columbia leads the way with 75% overall support for legalization, while the plan has only 55% support in the prairies. A new poll suggests that staunchly conservative Texas is trending toward broader marijuana reforms. The Texas Tegna poll indicates 71% of the state's voters would support expanding medical marijuana treatments for patients suffering other health problems. Another 19% oppose the idea, while 11% aren't sure. Even Republicans, by a margin of almost 71%, support marijuana uses for medicinal health reasons. But Texans apparently don't want to see their state go as far as Colorado and other states that have legalized recreational use of pot. Almost half of surveyed voters, 49%, oppose that idea, while 41% favor it, and the remaining 10% are undecided. A Texas Lyceum poll conducted last year indicated voters were about evenly split on legalization, but slightly more voters favored than opposed it by a 50% to a 46% margin. Monday morning, a stripped-down medical marijuana bill passed the Georgia State House 152-8. The bill opened up a cannabis oil treatment to a larger group of patients by adding 6 conditions to the list of allowed illnesses and diseases on the current bill. But the legal growth of medical marijuana in Georgia, the key piece of this legislation, was slashed out of the bill last week amid concerns by Governor Nathan Deal and state law enforcement. Florida seemed one step closer to opening up its medical marijuana to the terminally ill, but now there's serious doubt. The state has yet to dispense medicine associated with a law passed in 2014 that allows seizure patients to take a low-THC medical marijuana. A bill that would have allowed some terminally ill Floridians to use medical marijuana was ready for a full vote from the Senate last week, but it hit a major speed bump. Supporters hope legislative inaction means a constitutional amendment allowing medical marijuana passes in November. A similar amendment was narrowly defeated in 2014. The House's version of the bill effectively affecting terminally ill patients is ready for a full vote from that chamber. The Las Vegas Paiute tribe announced plans Monday to jump into the Southern Nevada medical marijuana business. The tribe partnered with medical marijuana production company Ultra Health, which operates 7 other facilities in New Mexico and Arizona. The tribe and its partners broke ground Monday on a 4,000 square foot dispensary on their lands near downtown Las Vegas. The plans also call for an 86,000 square foot production facility and a second 10,000 square foot dispensary on the Snow Mountain Reservation on the northern edge of the Las Vegas Valley. Last week, the Vermont Senate approved a bill that would legalize marijuana for recreational use in that state, authorizing the licensing and regulation of commercial producers and retailers. Unlike 3 of the 4 legal marijuana states, it would not allow home cultivation. A recent Vermont Public Radio poll found that 55% of Vermonters support legalization, with just 32% opposed. The Marijuana Policy Project, which welcomed last week's vote, is backing a similar effort in Rhode Island. Unlike the Vermont bill, a Rhode Island bill introduced on February 11th would allow home cultivation and sale of marijuana edibles. Struggling cities take note. A county-conducted survey shows Pueblo, Colorado's commercial construction industry is, quote, clearly being driven by the burgeoning cannabis industry, end quote. The survey found that about 40% of all commercial building permits in the city and county were related to marijuana last year, and expenditures on marijuana-related projects countywide were nearly $15 million. Quote, most everyone I come into contact with in commercial real estate is getting business from the cannabis industry, from realtors to engineers to contractors, end quote, County Surveyor Randy Reeves said in a statement. This has been your Cannabis Radio News for Monday, February 29th, 2016. I'm Russ Belville.
The next generation of vaporizers has arrived. Vuber vaporizers are blazing the way with unparalleled technology for oil, concentrate, or dry flower pens. Providing unsurpassed customer service and expert craftsmanship, Vuber vaporizers use cutting-edge technology, providing a power-packed, smoother vapor with a lifetime guarantee. Experience vaporizing the way it was meant to be. The Vuber way.
This is Cannabis Facts from Robert Platshorn's thesilvertour.org, supported by our donors and Hemp Inc., poised to lead America's hemp revolution at hempinc.com. In 1937, the second most prescribed medicine, marijuana, was banned. It wasn't about marijuana. The paper, oil, and chemical industries lobbied to end hemp farming. No longer labor-intensive, an acre of hemp produced more quality paper than 4 acres of trees. Plastics and fibers could be produced from a plant. Hemp can even produce 10 times the energy of today's ethanol. As marijuana prohibition ends, many states now allow farmers to again grow hemp. This was Cannabis Facts from thesilvertour.org, an educational nonprofit supported by our donors and Hemp Inc., a public company poised to process America's hemp crop at hempinc.com.
With over 6 years of experience in the industry, New Era CPAs is one of the nation's leading cannabis accounting firms, helping hundreds of growers, dispensaries, and ancillary companies with their tax, legal, and business strategies. New Era CPA's offices cover the West Coast from Seattle to San Diego, and their skilled team is always available to help you take your business to the next level. Visit neweracpas.com for more info and set up a consultation. Welcome to the New Era.
Every strain, every sale, every medical study. Keep it right here on the Cannabis Radio Network.
The world of cannabis is evolving at a frenetic pace. The Russ Belville Show gets behind the headlines to take a deeper look at breaking news in our Cannabis Focus.
Today in the Cannabis Focus, we're taking a look at the Southwest Cannabis Conference and Expo. It was an amazing event, especially considering the location here in Fort Worth, Texas, deep in the heart of red state prohibition. And one brave little girl made a trip back from Colorado, where she can get the medicine that keeps her seizure free, back to her home state of Texas to deliver a knockout speech that we will be bringing to you in the Radical Rant segment. So make sure you stay tuned for that. But before she got up on stage for her speech, I got the chance to speak to her one-on-one. This is my interview with 10-year-old Alexis Bortell. Radical Russ here at the Southwest Cannabis Conference and Expo, where I am so pleased to be sitting down with the rock star of the show so far, Alexis Bortell. Hi, Alexis. You just delivered probably the most bombshell speech I've heard, and I do these events a lot. You had numerous standing ovations. There had to be a couple of thousand people listening to you. How'd that make you feel? Were you nervous?
I was nervous at first. It was a lot of work to studying the speech itself.
Yeah.
But it was actually really fun.
Was this your first time doing a big speech like this?
I had one other speech like this. It was in DFW. It was just, except it was outdoors.
Okay. And has anyone ever told you that you're really good at this? Like, I speak for a living, and I have no advice for you. You did such a great job. Is this something you want to keep doing?
Yes, I want to keep doing this because that's my talent. Like, I can speak in front of Maddie and just go blank.
You do have a great talent for that. In fact, you even mentioned that you weren't going to stop your mission, even if you had to become governor someday. Do you think you might go into politics?
I may. I have no idea.
You might. That would be something interesting, I think. You also gave a mention to a friend of yours who's a friend of mine as well, Vincent Lopez, who left us last year. Do you think Vincent was watching? You think he's proud of what you've been doing?
I'm sure Vincent was watching. Yeah. I think he's really proud.
Can you tell us about some of the other kids that you're trying to help out with Team Alexis? You mentioned a couple up there on your speech.
Some of the kids, just like Haley and all the other patients, they had seizures or other disabilities as well, and they needed cannabis. They were refugees themselves.
Now, your use of medical cannabis, you mentioned how, Texas has this law that has low THC and high CBD. That didn't work for you, did it?
No, because I need a higher THC level, 15 to 1.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure. And Texas's law only allows a certain amount of THC.
That's right. And so you moved out to Colorado where you can get, whatever levels that you need. And you mentioned how many days you've been seizure-free now?
346.
You are, 20 days away from a full year or something like that? Yeah, around 19, something like that. That is a miracle. It's amazing. And what was it like for you trying to go to school when you had to worry about seizures all the time?
I had a lot of tardies. I had to go to the nurse's office practically every day.
Did it hurt your grades any?
Yes, it hurt my grades because sometimes I would miss tests.
Yeah. And now you've been almost a year seizure-free. How's school going now?
School now, it's way better because I have way less tardies. I hardly go to the nurse.
That's great to hear. So obviously you want to come back home to Texas, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And you miss a lot of friends and family here?
Yep.
Yeah, that's got to be tough. So the only way you get to come back is if these legislators fix this law. So what do you tell them? How do you convince some of these people that are scared of it that they need to change the law?
Convince them by just saying the story, just saying like how it helps many people and it's illegal in most places and we need to fix that.
A lot of these legislators and some people are just afraid when they hear the letters THC. They think of the people who smoke joints and get high. It's nothing like that for your treatment, is it? You don't get any sort of weird feelings from it, do you?
No, it's medical. As far as I know, medical, just the THC part of it, it's basically what helps most people.
And it's in an oil form, right, that you're taking this?
Yes.
Oh, excellent. So you continue to fight with Team Alexis. We've got to get these legislators to change their mind. I heard your plans coming up now are going to be coming to the legislature quite often, right? Yep. Tell folks about what you're going to be doing here.
So every once in a while I'll come back and forth from Colorado to here to talk to legislators about how this amount of THC won't help. We need a higher amount of THC.
And is it not just for kids that have seizure disorders, like other disorders as well?
Yes, like cancer and
Yeah, Crohn's disease. There's all sorts of things that it could help. When you talk to other little kids, other kids your age in school, do you talk to them? Do they know anything about this? Is this weird to them?
here in Colorado, I haven't told too many people.
Yeah.
But in Texas, pretty much the class knew. And I think it was kind of weird for them.
Yeah, to trying to figure out, you're having this disability, you're having these seizures, and wow, here's something that helps. It's got to be frustrating to think that, like you said in your speech, you're 10 years old, you figured this out. How come the adults can't figure it out?
They just need research. That's all it comes to.
Does it feel strange to get so much attention, to have so many people, like after the speech, everybody wants to take their selfie, take their picture with you? Do you feel like a celebrity, like a rock star a little? Yeah? You get the special back room, the green room with the chips and the sodas and all these cameras pointing at you. Kind of fun, huh? Yes. All right. Well, I think you are doing great work and so much good that you're bringing to this, because I think a lot of adults, when they hear it from adults like me, they may think I have some sort of trick up my sleeve. I'm trying to trick them. Obviously, you're not trying to trick anybody. Thank you so much for what you're doing. And do you have any emails or websites or anything like that to tell people about to help you out?
Yes, teamalexis.org. It's basically a Facebook site. It's just about how it's been going and how medical cannabis can help others.
That's amazing. Alexis, I know you are going to get this law changed in Texas, and a lot of people will have a lot of gratitude for you for helping them out, because like you said, you have this talent to speak for people, and a lot of people don't. A lot of people are afraid to speak out. So congratulations and great work with everything you're doing. Thanks for talking to us. I'm really honored. I appreciate it. Have a great show. All right, folks, we'll be back with more from the Southwest Cannabis Conference and Expo right after this.
Yes, and I'd have gotten away with it, too. If it wasn't for these blasted kids and their dog.
Well, I don't know if there's any dog involved. There was a couple of nice dogs there at the event, but that Alexis, I tell you, that's a really, really talented girl. She's got it all. She's going to really make a big difference in this fight. And I encourage you all to check out teamalexis.org and offer your support. Costs a lot of money to keep flying back and forth from Colorado to Texas. Stay tuned. We've got Mama, Mothers Advocating Medical Marijuana for Autism, coming up next. The Russ Belville Show is proudly sponsored by the Marijuana Business Association. The MJBA, called by NBC News the Cannabis Chamber of Commerce, is the fastest growing business association in the fastest growing industry in America. I've been working with the MJBA for years, and I personally invite you to join the MJBA. MJBA also publishes the popular MJ Headline News on Facebook and the MJNewsNetwork.com and Marijuana Channel 1 on YouTube. Visit mjba.net for more details.
Hey, this is Willie Nelson for Normal. And I smoke pot and I like it a lot. I learned a long time ago that marijuana is a lot safer than alcohol. There's nothing wrong with the responsible use of marijuana by adults. It's time we stopped arresting and started respecting those who smoke marijuana responsibly. To learn what you can do to help, contact Normal at norml.org or call toll-free 888-67-NORMAL.
Get the latest updates on the Russ Belville Show by following Radical Russ on Twitter and liking the Russ Belville Show on Facebook.
Great websites today need expert web design and development and need to be e-commerce ready and mobile friendly. But building a marketable and profitable website can be an uphill climb. Ready to make your new website or replace your existing website? Think Orange as the new way to get in the black. Orange Hill Development works with Fortune 500 companies and offer the same top quality development service at a fraction of what other providers charge. Brands like Absolute, Carlsberg, and Nestea trust Orange Hill Development. Find out why you should trust your website with Orange Hill. Contact Orange Hill for a consultation today at orangehilldevelopment.com.
Activism begins with ACT. The Russ Belville Show features the stories of hardworking grassroots activists working for an end to prohibition in today's activist agenda.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Southwest Cannabis Conference and Expo, Day 1. Radical Russ here with CannabisRadio.com, and I'm here at the booth for MAMA. That's Mothers Advocating Medical Marijuana for Autism, and we've got three lovely ladies here to tell us all about it. Tell folks your name.
My name is Christy Zartler, and I'm from the Dallas area.
I'm Amy Lou Faywell. I'm from Austin.
I'm Talia Michelle, also from Austin.
Fantastic. Thanks for being here, and give our audience an idea what Mothers Advocating Medical Marijuana for Autism is all about.
Well, we're here because we want to change the laws in Texas so that our children with severe and, not necessarily severe autism can have a chance to try this medicine that's safe as opposed to the things that they tend to be prescribed, which are not so safe, the antipsychotics. So, and we know that there are success stories in all the states that have legal cannabis, and we'd like to get some of that here.
One of the first mothers I ever interviewed on this subject was Miko Hester Perez, and her son got great relief from this. Are you all mothers of autistic children?
Yes, we are. Yes, we have teenagers. I have a 16-year-old.
Mine's 16. My daughter's 16.
And my son is 10.
Okay, so being that you're all here in Texas, it's got to be pretty scary dealing with this situation here.
Well, we're trying to change the laws. It's not scary if you don't break the laws. So, but we are trying to change them because our kids need it.
That being said, I think for a lot of parents who really feel that they have no other alternative at this point, it is scary. They are committing felonies. We don't advocate for that. We're not encouraging families to do that. But certainly there are families out there right now who are committing felonies. It is scary for them, and they shouldn't be put in that position to have to choose between committing a felony or saving their child's life. It's not right.
Sometimes the choice being made by parents is to abandon Texas and go to Colorado. Do you know any parents that have done that?
Absolutely, yes. We know several. There's a family we're working with now that moved from Oklahoma to Colorado. Certainly Alexis, she's not autism, epilepsy, but they've moved to Colorado. That's a very well-publicized story. But these families are very vulnerable. A lot of them are bankrupt from medical treatments. They don't have the money. They don't have the familial supports in these other states. They shouldn't be forced to leave their state, their family, their jobs, their homes. They're already vulnerable enough as it is.
What would you say that some people out there will go, wait a minute, didn't Texas pass a CBD law? Isn't there something to help these autistic kids?
Well, autism isn't a condition that's going to be allowed for the CBD laws, and autism is definitely a condition that's going to need a whole plant intervention. CBD only may help a few autistic children if they were allowed to have it under this law, but the majority, we think from our anecdotal stories that we hear from California and Colorado and Oregon, they are going to need a whole plant.
Some of that THC balance for some of the autistic kids.
Yeah.
Well, THC acts as a glutamate blocker. It blocks receptors in the brain that are uptaking glutamates. It's been talked about a lot in recent years that a lot of the kids are suffering from glutamate toxicity. The THC has anti-inflammatory properties. A lot of the kids have encephalopathy. It's not just about getting them a little stoned and calming them down. We believe that there's actual medicinal value in this, and CBD only is not enough.
So this has just gotten through the Texas legislature recently. Is there a feeling that they will go further with this, or is there a feeling like they're thinking, we gave you CBD, now you want it all, you want everything? What's happening with that?
Well, that's what we're here to do. We are here to change people's ideas about what it is and what it is as a medicine for our children. And we want to reach out to every mother in North Texas or the state of Texas or the nation and have them, learn the same thing that we have learned about looking into, research on this subject. So.
And we certainly hope that the legislators don't say, you got your medicine, leave us alone, or that they say, well, we have to wait and see what happens because it's not supposed to be a complete deal till the end of 2017. We are hoping that they will rise up and listen to the research and listen to the anecdotal stories.
Here's the thing. Our legislators are supposed to be working for us. Autism is now 1 in 68. Every legislator in this state has children in their constituency that are affected by autism. And if we can get enough parents to come forward and talk to these legislators, they're supposed to be working for us. It doesn't matter what they think, it matters what their constituents think. And 80% of Texans are in favor of medical cannabis. That's what they need to be focused on.
That's right. So let's get the word out there to the legislators in Texas. There's no initiative process here. It has to go through the legislature. Give people any contact information they're going to need to be able to look up more.
Can you start with, they can start with www.mamausa.org, and they can also find us on Facebook under Texas Mamas.
There's 3 M's in that mama, MAMMA USA.org.
Thank you. Yes, there are.
I know how people spell things on the internet. Well, ladies, thank you so much for talking to us, and any final words you want to give to our audience?
Support us. Go to our page and donate. We need money to make this happen.
Yeah, we do. Our parents have a lot of expenses as it is. We'd like to help families be able to get to the Texas Capitol. We want to keep the website going. We want autism as a qualifying condition across the nation, and it is going to take some resources. So anybody out there that's in support of what we're doing, please go to the website and donate.
All Thank you so much, mamas, mamausa.org, and for email, info mamausa@gmail.com. Thanks for joining us on the show. We appreciate your time.
Thank you, Russ. Enjoy the conference.
Again, great activists there at the Southwest Cannabis Conference and Expo at the Fort Worth Convention Center. Mothers Advocating Medical Marijuana for Autism. Find them at mamausa.org, MAMMAUSA.org. It's a story I've been covering for years now, at least 5 years. I mentioned Miko Hester Perez, her son, I think his name was Joey. His autism caused a form of pica where he would eat his T-shirts. He would literally eat up his T-shirts. And another young man, I forget the Jaden, I can't remember the last name, who would beat himself bloody due to his autism. All treatable with medical cannabis. We got Dr. Mitch coming up next in Cannabis Q&A. Stay tuned.
This is the Russ Belville Show on CannabisRadio.com.
Don't want to spend money on a night out, but don't know what to do other than watching TV or playing video games? Consider playing guitar, bass, banjo, or mandolin. The instrument will give you hours of entertainment with friends with minimal expense. Stop by the Fingerboard Extension downtown Corvallis at 120 Northwest 2nd Street today, or check out its inventory on the web at fingerboardextension.com.
You're not high. You're listening to the Russ Belville Show on CannabisRadio.com.
The Supreme Court is wrong on the Second Amendment.
Okay, maybe you're high, too. It's time for the Russ Belville Show's Cannabis Q&A with Dr. Mitch Earlywine. Dr. Earlywine is a professor of psychology at the State University of New York at Albany and a leading author and researcher on cannabinoids and health, who pins the Ask Dr. Mitch column for High Times Magazine. Get your questions ready in our live chat or call in to 971-533-7111 now.
Welcome back, everybody. We're live from Arlington, Texas here on the Russ Belville Show, and joining us via telephone, we've got Dr. Mitch Earlywine on the line. How you doing, Dr. Mitch? Hello, Dr. Mitch. Can you hear us okay? Oh, my goodness. We're having some sort of difficulty with the studio. Give me a moment here and see if I can figure out what's going on with the connection. Dr. Mitch, are you hearing us all right? Apparently not. All right, let me take a break, and we'll see if we can get this figured out on the technical side of things. We'll have Dr. Mitch back on the line here in just a moment.
Hey.
Hello, Dr. Mitch. Can you hear me okay, Dr. Mitch? Not hearing me. All right. Have to take a break. We'll be right back.
This is the Russ Belville Show on CannabisRadio.com.
Hey everybody, it's Radical Russ here from 420 Radio, inviting you to be like me and get your ink done at Lucky Horseshoe Tattoo, Fort Worth's most female-friendly, clean, sterile, awesome tattoo shop. Thomas and his crew are true artists who can design you a custom piece or use a design you bring in.
Russ,
Lucky Horseshoe Tattoo also offers all styles of tattooing as well as piercings and all-around I'm fun. hearing you. In the Trying to make DFW sure you area, can hear stop me. by Lucky Horseshoe Tattoo and tell them Radical
I can
Russ
hear you
sent
now.
you. Trust me, it'll feel awesome.
It's time for the Russ Belville Show's Cannabis Q&A with Dr. Mitch
I can't hear you
Earlywine.
anymore.
Dr. Earlywine is a professor of psychology at the State University of New York at Albany and a leading author and researcher on cannabinoids and health, who pins the Ask Dr. Mitch column for High Times Magazine. Get your questions ready in our live chat or call in to 971-533-7111 now.
Welcome back, everybody. We've had a couple technical glitches, but I think we've got them fixed and have Dr. Mitch Earlywine on the line. Are you hearing me now, Dr. Mitch?
Indeed, what a delight.
Oh yeah, so many different things to switch here on the laptop, and I'm going to blame it on Texas. I'm in Texas, so the problems are bigger in Texas, I guess. Glad to finally get you on the line, Dr. Mitch, and good news here is we've already got questions coming in from our chat room. Very interested in hearing from you. We've missed each other the past 2 or 3 weeks, but glad to have you back on the line. So let's go straight to the chat room, where we've got a question asking, what is the best study that articulates why active metabolites in blood are a better indicator of cannabis impairment than inactive metabolites in urine?
What's funny about that is it actually is one of those sort of self-evident things that actually was proven, back in the 1800s. So nobody's actually comparing urinary metabolites with blood metabolites with cannabis anymore, because everybody knows it takes much longer for it to get to the urine. And it's just one of those things that you wouldn't even bother doing an animal study on or getting funded that way. It's particularly curious because cannabis basically has metabolites that are staying around in the urine so much longer than, say, amphetamine or a lot of other drugs. And so it's not something that I could even point to and say, oh, hey, yeah, this was just done in the 50s. It's something that everybody already understood back in the 1800s.
All right. Well, let's get to our stack of studies here that have gathered since we've last spoken. And this first one got a lot of play, says that marijuana users are 5 times more likely to develop an alcohol addiction. Looks like they've proven the gateway theory there, Dr. Mitch. What do you say?
Well, it's so funny because it's actually kind of backwards in the moving back in our usual gateway order, where alcohol is supposed to precede cannabis use. But I do want to take this seriously because the sample was really big, and the symptoms, the diagnoses were relatively serious. So the alcohol use disorder that they were diagnosing wasn't just you drank a lot, but actually were suffering negative consequences. I think some of this has to do with just self-report bias. Folks who are candid about their cannabis use are also much more willing, perhaps, to mention that they're struggling with alcohol. But this is something to keep in mind. What breaks my heart is, as we've discussed before, we don't have a statewide breakdown on this data set. And I'm worried that perhaps folks who have cannabis but not from a regular source end up occasionally saying, oh, well, I can't get any cannabis, maybe I'll have a few drinks, and suddenly sending themselves down this path towards alcohol use disorders. So I'd really like to see the data broken down that way. And then everybody who, is using cannabis and alcohol as well needs to, take this in mind and make sure you're trying to keep consistent with the American Medical Association's recommendations, 2 drinks per day for men, 1 drink a day per woman.
We've seen some of these studies that have come out, some surveys that have come out showing less opiate addiction and overdose deaths in the states that have good medical marijuana access. Could there be a hypothesis that you're making here that the access to marijuana, especially in a recreational state, could lead to lower incidence of alcoholism?
In fact, some of the crazy links between, say, cannabis accessibility and suicide seem to potentially be alcohol-mediated as well. So I feel like that is, in some ways, the only way we can really answer these questions. And apparently you have to jump through some extra hoops when you get these national data sets in order to get it broken down by state. And I kind of got to admit I'm a little suspicious when they make it harder to do that, but I think they're concerned about confidentiality.
All right. Well, let's take a look at another one that, again, got a lot of play in the media. Chicago Tribune reporting on this one, of the pot-related visits to Chicago emergency room, or to Colorado, emergency rooms are higher for out-of-state visitors. And they say, a doubling of tourists going to ERs for cannabis-related issues. What's the breakdown on that? Is that something we need to fear?
I do feel like it's something we need to educate, and I'm grateful for folks who are, making these edibles now with much more serious warnings on them that are much more straightforward about the notions of the delayed onset of edibles relative to smoked cannabis or vaporized cannabis. And I feel like this has just got to become our public service announcement all the time. Edibles take a long time to have their impact. and there's really no need to experiment with heavy doses, particularly when you're in your first experience. So I think with better labeling, I think most novices would be fine with a 5 milligram dose. They may have to wait as much as 3 hours in order to feel it if they're eating it on top of a heavy meal as well. And let's just make sure that that becomes a big poster in every billboard in every state that has recreational cannabis available.
Yeah, the more education can always help. Start low, go slow, and recognize that even a professional pothead like me, I'm pretty wary of the edibles. They can have an effect that you're not ready for, so be very careful, folks. All right, let's get to this study. This was from Washington Post reporting on this one, that smoking pot doesn't make you anxious or depressed. It never did for me, so what is this data telling us?
I was so delighted that this actually got some coverage because the null results are super hard to publish and super hard to get into the news. So we've seen at least 2 other large data sets suggesting that cannabis is not really leading to depression, and particularly if you take out those self-medicating folks who were depressed prior to use, the links are essentially zero. With the anxiety, I feel like the results have been more inconsistent, but this is a pretty large sample, and at least as far as a diagnosable generalized anxiety disorder is concerned, that's also not in a causal link or even in a strong enough association to make further investigation reasonable. I do feel like the social anxiety data, that sort of subset, that little phobia, if you will, that might still stand out in the long run. But we know so many folks who use cannabis to treat social anxiety. I feel like there's something that's moderating that relationship that we just haven't identified yet.
Well, we'll keep our eye out on more information on that. There's brand new information being published by Colorado State University, a study that points to cannabis's effect on emotion processing. And like I said, it just came out today. I haven't dug deeply into it, but it seemed to say that us regular cannabis users have a harder time identifying emotional states in others, kind of an emotional quotient thing. Have you gotten a chance to look into this?
So this is actually pretty abstruse because they're doing the P300, this special evoked potential, a sort of brainwave change in response to certain visual stimuli. And so I wouldn't say that we're necessarily worse at identifying the emotion so much as we don't make the same distinctions from the brainwave point of view. And it tends to be with these angry faces versus happy faces. It wouldn't stun a lot of cannabis users to learn that maybe they don't often view angry as angry and could confuse it with fearful, for example. But it seems like it's happening actually at the identification brainwave level, not just some interpretive bias that's later down in processing. I don't think this is the kind of thing that's going to make folks go crazy, but I do feel like it does sort of explain why folks who are in a state where they might need to be paranoid might not show the cautions maybe they should.
There's another study being reported that says there's been no increase in problematic cannabis use even after these states have legalized. Is this data we can rely on?
So Richard Grusha is the main author on this, and I actually should have something going up on Cannabis Radio with him in the next day or two where we really get into the nitty-gritty on this. But somebody previously had suggested that cannabis use and cannabis use disorders had doubled since 2002.
Right.
He points out that it may be anomaly related to the way these interviews are performed, and that's face-to-face. What a surprise. It's harder to, particularly in an illegal state, say to an interviewer you've just met right in their face, yes, I use cannabis, even if you do.
Gotcha. So they may have been underreporting it in the past and now are just more honest about it now that it's legal.
I think that's the case, and I think these other data sets that are showing less of an increase maybe because they've been using this computerized version all along, and so the older data suggested things were higher and potentially more realistic.
All right. And finally, we've got a study warning that Kevin Sabet's worst nightmare could come true. The pot industry could become the next big tobacco. It cites the ability of big industries to be able to write their own rules in regulations, and not just in alcohol or prescription drugs, pretty much all of American politics. What do you make of this particular study?
So I don't want to just toss it aside, because Stan Glantz has done some great work as far as tobacco problems have been concerned. And I feel like some of the warnings he's talking about, once you get through sort of the hubbub, are actually pretty reasonable. If you want more warning labels on marijuana products, I'm completely fine with that, to tell you the truth, as long as they're truthful. So you think about the United Kingdom and how, a pack of cigarettes there literally says smoking chills in great big letters, right? And so I wouldn't mind a thing on edibles saying, this will get you really stoned. I think if that's the kind of warning label he wants, by all means, that's completely fine. But I just don't want these exaggerated, ridiculous ones. So, the notion that marijuana is a gateway drug is not consistent with the data. I wouldn't want that on a warning. And I think he's, concerned that big tobacco really did sort of ram tobacco down our throats. But we're talking about a very different plant here, and I'm happy to have safety and testing standards become, industry codes, if you will. But I think the bluster around making these points tends to dilute the fact that there's really not that much he's asking for.
We have that rule in Oregon with our products that they have to put in a little piece of paper with a warning on it that says that, this could be bad for pregnant women or nursing women. And last we've talked on this, is it's kind of inconclusive. Is it right for them to err on the side of caution and over warn about these things that we're inconclusive about?
It's funny because I feel like that's kind of unfair. And so if they use the may and the might kind of words, and those pregnancy data, there is that one longitudinal data set suggesting higher ADHD, but they didn't control for ADHD in the moms, right? So it's all this sort of amorphous confusion. So I feel like erring on the side of caution when the potential downside is high makes some sense. But in some ways, I'd rather just have a number you could call on any topic and sort of get a feel for the data yourself, so that each person can make his or her decision, but making it an educated decision.
Well, you can learn more and get more educated decisions every week on Dr. Mitch's podcast here on CannabisRadio.com. It's Burning Issues. Check it out. And you can always email 420research@gmail.com. Thanks, Dr. Mitch. We'll talk to you next week.
Looking forward to it.
This is the Russ Belville Show on CannabisRadio.com.
Earn your PhD in THC monetization with CannabisRadio.com. Don't be late.
Coming soon to a city near you, Cannabis Finance Boot Camp. Get all your cannabis accounting, legal, and compliance questions answered by their knowledgeable panel of industry experts who want to help your cannabusiness boom. Whether you're a grower, dispensary operator, or a newcomer to the field, your cannabusiness needs Cannabis Finance Boot Camp. For information on upcoming events, visit CannabisFinanceBootCamp.com.
We must wage what I have called total war against public enemy number one.
I support a change in law to end federal criminal penalties for possession of up to 1 ounce of marijuana.
That marijuana, pot, grass, whatever you want to call it, is probably the most dangerous drug.
Some think there won't be room for them in jail. We'll make room.
I experimented with marijuana a time or two, and I didn't like it and didn't inhale.
One major responsibility is to encourage people to use less drugs.
Entirely legitimate topic for debate.
Radical Rant. And now the star of the show from the Southwest Cannabis Conference and Expo, Alexis Bortell.
She is a Texan. She comes from a wonderful family. Unfortunately, she's been exiled to Colorado in order to treat her seizures with whole plant medicine. But she's here today to speak on behalf of many patients here in Texas and we're very fortunate to have her. Ladies and gentlemen, may I present Alexis Bortell.
Oh my gosh, I'm home. My name is Alexis Bortell, and I am a Texas medical refugee living in Colorado, but I am still a Texas girl. Before I get started, I wanted to ask for a moment of silence to remember one of my heroes, Vincent Lopez, and also Teresa, Tony, and all of the other patients who went to heaven this year. Thank you. Okay. Let's get this out of the way right now. Yes, I am probably the only kid standing in Texas right now who can say in front of thousands of people that I use medical marijuana every day, and my Republican parents are proud of me. This is me before epilepsy when I was 7. Back then, I was a normal kid, probably just like many of your kids. I had pet chickens, loved fishing, played golf, and yes, I spent as much time as I could hanging out with my sister and my friends. I was really lucky because I almost never got sick, which was good because I really hated going to the doctor. My life changed forever in July 2013 when I had my first seizure. There was no warning. I remember being tired that night, and so I laid down on the couch to take a nap while Mom and Dad folded clothes. The next thing I remember is kind of blurry. I remember seeing Avery crying and yelling, "Wake up, Alexis." And then I saw my dad reaching down before everything went black. When I woke up, I was in a hospital bed. Dad was talking to a nice lady doctor who said they couldn't help me at her hospital, but they were sending me to Dallas Children's, where they probably could help me. In the hospital, they stuck me with needles, put me in a tube that made loud banging noises, and then stuck a whole bunch of funny wires on my head that smelled terrible. When I finally did get to go home, my parents told me that I had something called epilepsy and that I was going to have to start taking medicine every day. I had never taken a medicine every day, and after a few days, I started to feel really weird. My hands and legs would shake. The blackouts happened more, and I was sleepy almost all the time. I told my parents about it, and they said it should pass in a few weeks. It never did. The fog never went away. About a month later, I started 2nd grade at St. Joseph's here in Dallas, and it was really hard. My friends were still nice to me, but I could tell they knew something was wrong. Well, maybe it was obvious because I had to wear those wires on my head to school several times, but hey, they gave me cool backpacks, so it wasn't all bad. My doctors told me until we got the seizures stopped, I shouldn't ride a bike, go swimming, or even climb stairs with my classmates. Instead, I had a seizure buddy in my class who was special just like me, except she didn't have seizures. She just needed help carrying stuff because she had crutches. Every day I would carry her book back and make sure she would go everywhere with me to make sure I didn't fall, space out, or have a seizure. She was like a sister to me. I really miss her and hope she's okay. If she sees this speech someday, I just want to tell her Thank you for always helping me. At school, I was always afraid that I would have a seizure in front of my friends. It was very frustrating because my epilepsy was causing me to go to the nurse's office almost every day. I tried so many different medicines I lost count. Every night, Mom or Dad would stay up all night while I slept in case I had a seizure. After a while, I could tell they were getting frustrated because the medicines and doctors couldn't help me. One thing I remember hearing my dad say to my mom was, "What if we can't stop the next one?" I didn't know what that meant back then, but I do now, and to be honest, I kind of wish I didn't. Finally, after almost a year, Mom recorded a TV show for me and Dad. The name of the show was Weed 2 Cannabis Madness by Dr. Gupta. I didn't know it then, but that TV show would change all of our lives because someday it will lead us to a medicine that stopped my seizure monster. After talking to my Texas doctor, we all flew to Colorado where I met 3 more great doctors. They all agreed that medical cannabis might be able to help me and that it was worth a try. When we got back to Texas, we decided to try to get the laws changed. After many phone calls, we finally got a meeting with my state representative, Scott Turner from Frisco. At our meeting, he wasn't rude to me, but he did say he wouldn't help and then wrote a statement saying he had moral concerns and needed to talk to people, including fellow clergy, about cannabis medication. I remember thinking to myself, why doesn't he just call my doctors instead of my priest? But what did I know? I was just a kid. After this meeting, we started Team Alexis and kept meeting with legislators in Dallas and in Austin. I was starting to get a little frustrated until I met Representative Neistat, who offered lots of help and advice. It was so nice to finally meet a legislator brave enough to help me. He told me what I was doing was great and that no matter what happens, I should never give up. Unfortunately, my work at the Capitol ended because on February 4th, 2015, I had the worst seizure of my life. I remember it was Dad's night to watch me while I slept, so he was sitting beside the bed working on his computer when I went to sleep. Later, I woke up in the living room on a stretcher surrounded by firemen. They rushed me to Children's Hospital in an ambulance, and during the appointments that followed, my doctors and my parents decided that it was time for me to move to Colorado so I can try medical cannabis. After our move, Dad traveled back and forth from Texas to Colorado while he tried to help get a law passed that would help all patients and not just a few chosen ones. On March 4th, 2015, I finally got my first treatment of Haley's Hope cannabis oil. I have to say, it wasn't what I expected. With all the arguing in Texas, I thought it was going to be a big deal, but it turns out it was just a brown oil in a glass bottle that smells like a skunk. No, it doesn't taste great, but it doesn't make me feel funny or sleepy like all the pills I used to take did. I went 33 days seizure-free when I started Haley's Hope Oil. I got the flu and had a seizure on day 33, which was a bummer, but hey, 33 days was much better than the old 3-day record I had on pharmaceuticals. My doctor told us to increase the amount of THC I was taking, and I am happy to say that the seizures went away, and today I am 346 days seizure-free. Using only THC and Haley's Hope. That's right, no more pills. My life is so much better now. I am almost a year seizure-free. My school and teachers know I take medical cannabis and they support me. I get to meet lots of patients, and I've filmed 3 national TV specials that will air this year. But most of all, I can do all the fun things I couldn't do in Texas. I can ride a bike almost every day, but the coolest thing is that I can finally go to sleepovers at my friends' houses. So far, I've been to 4, and it's amazing. Oh, yeah. There is one more big thing I've done. To celebrate 300 days seizure-free, we went rock wall climbing with ropes and everything. It was very scary, but my sister Avery and I did it without quitting. I never thought I would make it a year without a seizure, but now it looks like I might. If I do, I need your help. I really want to go to Disneyland, but it isn't in Colorado, so I need all of you to help me convince Mom and Dad to take us. It isn't all happy, though. Team Alexis is made up of many sick people. Nova, Hannah, and I are all Texas medical refugees who need THC. Yes, I said THC to help us. Texas's low THC law won't bring any of us home, and we need all of you to remind your legislators of that. There is also the hard part of saying goodbye to people you care about and love. I have lost many friends in Team Alexis this year, and it is very hard. Vincent Lopez, who mentored me and taught me to be nice to politicians, even when they say silly things, went to heaven this year before we finished fixing Texas's laws, and I was crushed. Even today, after a couple of months, I miss him every day, but I know in my heart he would never leave me, and that helps me keep going even when I'm sad. I went to Austin to go to his funeral, and several people told me they were sure I would finish his work. Vincent, if you are listening, I swear we will finish your work even if I have to become governor someday. See, while I've been working on Team Alexis, I have realized that my story is only one of many. There are thousands of medical refugees out there who just want to go home. Team Alexis isn't just about me. It is about all of us. I say that every patient matters a lot because it is true. I am no more special than anyone else, and epileptic patients have no more right to medical cannabis than any of you. Even at 10, I can understand how crazy it is that we trust our doctors with our lives, but we don't trust them with a plant. I'm sorry if it offends you to hear me say this, but the law doesn't make any sense, and it is time to change it. I only hope that if a kid can figure this out, then so can a legislator. Before I go, I want to send a message to all Texas legislators and Governor Abbott. I know you thought passing a low THC bill would bring the refugees home, but it won't, and it probably never will. I will be making many day trips around Texas and to Austin as Team Alexis prepares for its next session. I will keep calling you and hope to meet you all. Without your help, I will never be able to live in Texas again, and neither will my refugee friends. Think about it. What if I were your daughter or granddaughter? Would you help me then? Also, to the many people here who are on our team, I want you to know that I appreciate everything you do to help us. Only by working together will we finally end Texas's war on patients, and trust me, together we will end it. Finally, to the people of Texas who are depending on us to get these laws fixed, I promise you that I will never quit fighting for you all. Someday, I will come home for good, and when I do, I will bring all the Texas medical cannabis refugees back with me. Texans, remember, our fight is not over. It has just begun, and I will not hide. I love you all, and I will see you again very soon. Thank you. I love you all.
That's the amazing 10-year-old Alexis Bortell delivering her keynote speech yesterday at the Southwest Cannabis Conference and Expo to a crowd of at least 1,000, couple thousand maybe. She hung around for selfies and to talk with folks, did numerous media interviews. She was featured on the ABC and Fox affiliates. I see the Univision affiliate was interviewing her as well. And she held such great poise and determination, and she's obviously got an amazing talent for public speaking. Incredibly photogenic as well. You'll be hearing more from Alexis Bortell in the future, I promise you that. That's all the time we got for this first hour. We've actually run a little bit late with Alexis's speech, but stay tuned. We got more coming up in hour 2. Toker Talk Radio. Phone lines will be open at 971-533-7111. Plus, we've got more highlights, including a visit with Lily Howard and her family, another medical marijuana patient, and Renee Petro from Canamoms. For everyone here at Dubious Studios in DFW, I'm Radical Russ, and until next time, take care of each other, tokers.
This is the Russ Belville Show. The Russ Belville Show is blogging and podcasting daily at radicalruss.com.
You grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it. You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you